afternoon, everyone. This is Laura, and we are going to cover My Matrix and more today. We have quite a bit to cover, so if I go a little bit longer than normal and you need to drop off, go right ahead. This webinar is being recorded and should be posted later today. I'm sorry, later this week. It's Monday. Anytime you want to get any of our recorded webinars or tip sheets, they're under your name here at the top right. And when you choose there, and when you click on your name and choose help, we've got our webinar videos, we've got our tip sheets, and everything I'm going over today, we have tip sheets on. So you'll find those there under the tip sheets on the left. All right, so my goal here today is to show you just a whole bunch of different things that you should take a look at in Matrix. You might not have done it before, or maybe you need to update some things in case you've had any changes. And what I'd like to start with first is your information that we have in the system. So the easiest way to check that is if you're on your home page of Matrix. And so here's our home page of Matrix, Yes MLS logo in the top left. You've got an external links panel. Some of you may have moved that around because you can pick that up and drag it and put it anywhere. Some of you may have actually closed it, and if you did close it, it would be under your additional panel. But when you find that panel, you'll see your name is highlighted in yellow with your company, your email, and your phone number. If any of that needs to be updated, you can either click on your name highlighted in yellow, or if you're back in your dashboard, you can go to MMSI, which is the same place you pay your bill. And if you click there and open it, this is where we store the data that we have in the MLS for you. So if you see that your information isn't correct, you can click this edit button right when you open the MMSI page. Clicking your name in yellow within Matrix also takes you to this screen. And here's where you can update your primary phone number. That's the one that's going to show on your listings. You can update your web page. You can update your email address. Anything other than that, like your name and such, needs to go through our membership department. Once you're finished and you press update, that is going to take about 15 to 30 minutes to update back into the MLS. So give that some time. That's not immediate. Anytime you change that data, it'll update on your listings. It will update as your from email address if you should be sending emails and you changed your email address. Your phone number will change on your listings, things like that. So do make sure that you maintain that on the MMSI screen, and it will update across through the MLS and update your listings. The other thing you might want to include is your photo. Now I've added a photo here, but if I wanted to change that photo so that when I search my profile or want to use that in another part of the system, if I choose change agent photo, or if you didn't upload one yet, it'll say update or upload photo. You can click there. It takes you to a really weird spot. It takes you to the input screen. And down here at the bottom is where you would go to update that photograph. So if you enter your agent ID and choose to edit that, on the next screen, you'll see manage photos. And to manage your photos, you can come in here and browse and go find your new photo and upload it. And then whatever's in the primary spot would be the one that showed on your profile if we were to search for your name. So for example, I'll show you mine, and I'll get back to this speed bar in a minute. So here's a great example of an agent that's me, that has their picture in there that's maybe the photo's just a little bit older. That's not really what I look like today. So please don't use your glamour shots in there that are from the 80s. Please make sure to have a recent photo, but when people search for you, that's the picture they'll see, is the one that you uploaded, again, from clicking on your change agent photo or upload agent photo, typing your license number in the quick modify field, and choosing to manage photos here. All right, next, you might want to take a look at your email signature. So when you send listings out of the MLS, you have an automatic email signature at the bottom, and the default of that is just your question came in, can you use your team logo for a photo? Yes, we don't have really very many rules on the photos itself. I would say don't use a movie star or a cartoon character or a picture of a house that you listed, because I've seen people do that by mistake. But yes, you can use a team logo or your company logo for your photo in the MLS if you wish. Okay, so your email signature. This has changed a little bit, that if you did these steps in the past, you used to go under the My Matrix settings button. Well, now that moved under your name at the top right. So settings is now here under your name and then settings. So if I move into settings, I get these little panels that take me to different places in the system. My information has quite a bit of info stored for you. So if we go to my information, I've got things like my personal data, a header and footer that I can choose. I can set up an email signature. I can set up a CMA cover sheet, and we're going to skip the one home one. But with the information, some of this is populated from that screen that we just updated with our phone number, that MMSI screen that we use that yellow highlighted name to get to, or from this dashboard panel. When you update that, it takes you to this, it'll fill in this information. But you can also add more data here, such as maybe you're a realtor. Maybe you want to put in a fax number. Perhaps you have a tagline. Those things are all available, and they kind of tie into your header and footer. So take a look at that. I will give you a little tip here. This is not written down anywhere. So if you want this little tip, you might want to write it down. I'm also going to type it in the chat box. If you want that little realtor, that little R with the circle around it, which is really the registered trademark, but we also use it for the realtor logo, the realtor symbol. If you press on a PC, I'm not sure how it works on a Mac, you might have to Google that one, but if you press the Alt key and then 0174 on your keyboard, and again, it's in the chat, Alt, I spelled it wrong. We'll do that again. ALT plus the 0174 key, it'll give that little circle with the R in the middle of it that looks like the realtor logo that we use. So you can include that. Once you have, your website is there available under the MMSI data that pulls your email, your website, and your phone number. So you can certainly add that here. It's down here at the bottom. Again, that will be pulled in from that site into the MLS. So that will then be automatically populated here, but you have to make those changes under MMSI. Next, once you've got this data all cleared up, I would like to show you your header and footer. So headers and footers are what will print on the printouts today. It's no longer part of that client portal. So header footers are for printing only. And if I go into header and footer, we give you your banner, and then you can control what shows on the left-hand side of that banner, including a photo and the data that you want to include. And remember, this data we just updated from this information tab. So anything you want to show on the left-hand side of your header has to be available from the information tab, and then you'll pick it out of this list. So let's first check out the different banners that we can use. So we, as a new agent, we gave you kind of a really boring one with some gray little houses, look like little cutout pieces of paper. You have several to choose from. So in the middle here, if you select a different Vantage or banner image or theme, when you choose that, you're taken to a list of many different choices. So downtown Cleveland cityscape, we've got a rural scene, we've got some that don't really apply to Cleveland or Northeast Ohio or West Virginia. So take a look and scroll through these. There's some really nice ones. And then pick the one that you like. Just continue to scroll through here. I'm going to use the lake scene. I think that kind of looks, oh, I like this one better, the Lake Erie scene. So it's not really Lake Erie, but I think it looks like it. And once you like that, you click preview, and that's going to show you what it looks like with your information on there. Now, if you want to change any of this data on the left-hand side, you simply go through these little drop-down lists and you put in what piece of data you want and where you want it. So maybe first I want my phone number, and then I want my email address, and then maybe I should have my company. So I can put my company there. And that was my tagline. So if you want to enter a tagline, you have that as a drop-down. You can also add a photo. So here at the top, if you don't want a photo and choose no photo, it just pushes everything to the left. If you want a photo, you can either change or add one. And these are the ones that were on my, that I've uploaded, like I showed you how to do previously. So take a minute and do that. And you have the ability to browse here and add one. So take a minute, get that photo that you want, and then save that, becomes part of the photo in that circle. And that becomes part of your banner. If you don't like the colors here, and they try to give you some decent colors that match the banner itself, but if you don't like those colors, you can use your own by choosing the custom colors. And here, you might say, you know what, I want something to be, instead of yellow for my email address, I want that link color to be a different color. If you click on the yellow, then you can change the color, you can change the shade of it. And when you say done, now it's going to turn that link into a pink, text instead of that yellow. Or you can go back to using the custom defaults there, and you're back to the lighter yellow. Once you're done here, make sure to say save, and that will store it. The next time you print something out of the MLS with your header selected, this will be the header that prints at the top. The next thing here is your email address, your email signature. So again, the default is that you just had your name. Well, you can go in and you can add your company email address, phone number. You can add links, you can add a photo. So you have many options in here. Once you've added that text, you can format it using basic formatting features here across the top. A couple things I want to show you. If you wanted to make something a link, so for example, the word click here to see our website, the word here is a link. You simply just or highlight rather the words or word that you want to be a link. You click the chain link here at the top, and you tell it where you want it to point to. So if I want this to go to yes-mls.com, and I say okay, it's going to, the text is the word website. It's going to be a URL pointing to yes-mls.com. And now next time I send something out, that website will be viewed if the client clicks on the word website. Some other things you can do, the little icon here that's mountains and a moon, that's the international symbol for picture. You can, if I erase that, if I choose the photo, I can ask it to choose the image. So I'll select an image. I like the Yes MLS logo. But what happened here is now it's just a white box floating around. You don't even see the boundaries of it. So I could ask it to put a border. And the bigger the number, the fatter the border. So if I put a 3, it's a fairly big black border. If I put a 10, it's going to be very thick. So wherever your cursor is, it's going to mimic the color that's the text shortly after where that cursor sits. And then if you want to move that down and over, maybe I want to move that down over 10 spaces and down 10 spaces. So it's horizontal space and vertical space. It's shifted that. And if I say, okay, now I've got my banner, my email signature with a thick border indented about 10 vertical spaces and move down about 10. So take a minute, fool around in here, just try to get that to look real nice and professional so that your contacts and anybody receiving an email from you knows how to reach you and has some links that you're directing them to. And then when you're done, you say save that. You cannot, that's a good question. Can I make the picture a link? I've never tried that. I know that you can't add anything like, I'm going to have to email that and see if that works. I'll check back on that in just a few minutes. Let's see. I don't know how to test. I'm going to have to test that and get back to you guys in a minute, or I'll have my coworker test that who's listening in. And maybe she can test that on a practice email. So Joyce, did you get that? We'll see if that works. Okay, I forgot to hit enter there. So that's the code for that little realtor bar in the circle. Again, it's Alt 0174. And you can put that in your profile there under information, as well as in your email signature. Okay. For those of you who use auto email, I'm going to come back and show you again. You go to your name and you go to settings, and that takes you to a screen that gives you many different choices in here. One of the features that we have with auto email, you set it up. If you're using that client portal, which we call One Home now, if you're setting that up to go automatically to customers, they get an email. You may get a blind carbon copy of that. The way it works today is with the One Home portal, when you get the copy, you do not see what they see. You see a link that takes you back into the MLS. If you go to the MLS, you might find on the home page that it tells you, who looked at their portals recently. And everybody's panel's in a slightly different place. I'm looking for the one that says recent One Home visitors. So here are some clients that looked at it. And if they have if they've gone to the trouble to build the account and mark favorites or leave a note, you'll see those icons here. But what's really nice is the system has a way to alert you so that you don't have to always log in and see, did they actually did they look at the portal? Did they leave me a favorite or a note? You now, and have for some time, have the ability to go into your settings. So again, it's your name and settings. And one of the features here is this portal notifications settings. So you as the agent can ask you can ask the system to come in and send you a text or an email. And Lou, I will get back to your question in just a moment. Let me finish this. When you want to get an alert, it can be as soon as possible, either through email or through text when your customer does any of these items. So, it's quite a bit to get a text or an email every time they visit or every time they discard or remove a favorite. That's kind of a little overkill. But what I think would be helpful, if I were working with a client, is I want to know when they marked a favorite, because they're probably going to call me and say, hey, I marked that favorite. Did you see it? And you weren't in the MLS, but you could ask it to send you a text, and you'll get the listing number. You can quickly click the link to see more about that property, and also notes. I think those two are important. I want to know if my customer marked a favorite or if they've actually sent me a note on one of those listings. So once you choose text, you then want to click down here to say, edit your cellular information. And you would enter your phone number without any dashes or dots. You're just going to type all the numbers. You'll pick your provider, and then you'll ask it to send a verification code. And then when you do that, you'll type in that code. And then moving forward, anytime your customers save a favorite or add a note, you will get an alert on your phone, and it will tell you what customer, what they saved, and a quick link to that property. So give that a shot. And if you decide that you hate it, you can always come back here and turn them off. Maybe you just want the email instead. The summary, that's going to send you an update the next morning of what all of your customers did. And keep in mind, this is not a client by client basis. This is all or nothing. So for everybody, you'll get an alert, or for nobody, you won't get the alert. And I'm just going to sidetrack a little bit. Lou asked, how do you change the messages on the One Home email? My Matrix auto emails, as you're in here, either on a per person basis, or you can save it as your default. When you're either building it or after it's already built, you'll come into somebody and choose settings. And here you can either change the welcome message that goes every time, or the recurring message that only goes once. And they did update this so that if you erase all of this, all of it is gone. It's all gone. Whatever you type here becomes the new defaulted message. And if you like what you type and you want it for everyone that you build moving forward from today, so not the people who are in there already, but moving forward, click that little gear right there, and that stores it and becomes the new default for everybody moving forward. So in the when we first rolled it out, you could change some of this data, but now all of it can be changed. So the only piece that's going to stay is the part that sends the link. Bill, thank you. If we did that email signature and we made the photo the link, and Bill confirmed that did work. Excellent. Elaine, the alt 0174 gives you the realtor little R registered trademark, the R in the circle that agents like to use as the realtor symbol on items. So it's the R with the circle around it. All right, so again, that was under your name, and then settings, and it's the portal notification settings where you have the alert telling you what your customers did. So I would take a minute. I think that's helpful. Otherwise, your customers call them and you have no idea what they're talking about when they said, "Oh yeah, that favorite you sent me," and you don't know what that favorite is. Okay, so another piece under your name and settings is something called I'm going to get back to a different account. Hold on one second. It's called team settings. So we have a pretty strict rule that says if you share your ID and password, it's a $1,000 fine, and your whole office could be turned off if you don't pay that. We have steps in place through the Clarity dashboard that reflect whether you're logging in multiple locations and you didn't have enough time to drive from, say, here to Columbus, but you have two logins, one here and one in Columbus. So we take that very seriously. We do not want you to share your ID with anybody, including another agent or your personal assistant. So if you are in a situation where you have somebody working on your behalf, or you want to have work as you have the ability to come in here under team settings and you can set up a person to impersonate you. So I might have a personal assistant, you know, Heidi and Keith and Joyce. They're my personal assistants, and I want them to be able to log in as themselves, but then work as me so that I can be logged in and they can be logged in as me. And they're not going to pull me out in the middle of something very important. So to add somebody, you might first have to build your team, and you don't need a team name. I don't have one, but you have the ability then, once you've created your team, to say add. And if you want to add somebody, you type in their number. I'm actually going to get rid of Dan here. If I wanted Dan to now impersonate me, he's one of my coworkers, and I want him to help me out. I type his number and find him. So it's helpful to know their number. And then I can either have Dan Jones impersonate me or have him work on behalf of. Impersonate is he logs in as himself. He'll come up to the top and say, I want to work as Laura. And then when he does that, he is under my profile and he can see my contacts. He could enter a listing for me. Anything he does, if he emails something, it looks like it came from me and not him. So that works very, very well. To have somebody work on behalf of you, that means maybe we're on a team. So it's the Laura team. And I want it to say, this is Dan working on behalf of the Laura team. So I want my name in front of all those customers, but it's still his identity and his profile. So that's the difference. Work on behalf of is just including my team name there, or impersonating, he becomes me in the system. And then it says Dan can impersonate me. Okay. Now, if you ever come up to the top, for example, I'm on Heidi's team and Joyce's team and one that's called the Yes MLS team. So if I want to work on as the Yes MLS team, I can click there, and now I'm working under Yes MLS account executive. I'm not Laura any longer, and you can see that up here at the top. So please take advantage of that and use team settings where appropriate. We don't want to have to flag your account with a high risk score. It's going to cause a lot of frustration. We've had that happen already to some users. So as you use your account, log out. Don't keep logging into multiple devices. If you're sitting there and you've got a phone and a tablet, the system gets a little confused and thinks you're logging in and sharing that account. And if you do need to have a personal assistant work as you, set them up as a team. If you need that paperwork, that is under the links menu. We've got something called under links, the MLS UPA form. Send that over. We'll get that UPA set up in our system, and they'll have their own ID and password. And then you set them up to work as you. When they stop working as you can go delete that immediately, and they no longer have access to your account. So again, the setting is under your name and settings. The paperwork to get a UPA is here under links and MLS UPA. An unlicensed personal assistant is what that stands for, and that's $5 a month. If you work on a team and you're already paying dues, there's no fee for that. So if you need help with that, give us a call, but it should be pretty straightforward if you pull up that tip sheet. Okay, we're going to keep plowing ahead here. We're about half an hour in. I know, like I said, typically we go about half an hour, but I have a lot to cover. So stay here if you'd like, or drop off if you have to, but got some good stuff coming up. So the speed bar is what I want to talk about next. And that's this section right up here across this top. It says enter shorthand or MLS number. So a lot of people will use this speed bar just to type in a listing number, or maybe you type in an address. So if I just type in an address, that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, brings up every occurrence of that address in the system. So that's fine. You could type in a listing number, just enter that. You can type in a comma and enter several listing numbers, but this does a whole lot more. So one thing I like is I like to enter an agent's name. So I did that earlier. I typed in up here AG for agent, AG. And then I typed in a little bit of my first name and a little bit of my last name and press enter. And there's Laura Graybar, and there's my account information. And if I click on my agent ID, now I get, you know, my company, my active listings. I can see email address and other information. So that's a really quick, easy way to get an agent. You're going to look for the ID in order to mark them as closed because you don't have their license number and you want to use them as the selling agent. Quick and easy up there. AG and enter first, a little bit of first, a little bit of last, or if you have their license number, you could type that too. Everything I'm going to show you up here, you can either find in this question mark or under your name and help. There is a nice little tip sheet. Actually, if you type it up here and call it speed bar, just take the word speed. There's my speed bar in Matrix. And that's the tip sheet on all the shortcuts we're going to talk about. So take a minute and print that because you'll find that very helpful. Okay, so what I like to do here as well is when I'm searching for something, so I am looking for listings. I want to look for active listings in Lakewood between 200,000 and 400,000. That's the shorthand for that. I could have put area 101 instead of Lakewood. I could have put a zip code, but that's active Lakewood between 200 and 400. I press enter and that's everything in Lakewood between 200 and 400. I'm getting single family and condos. What I really wanted was just single family. I'm sorry, yeah, which was just single family. So I forgot to include that. I could come back to my criteria and find that field and select it. Or I can pop up to my speed bar and type SF for single family. Again, I know these codes. You're going to want to print out that tip sheet that's under the links menu. Another nice piece is, shoot, you know, that's not enough listings. It's only 20. I want to change that price. I want to go down to 100,000. I could, again, go back to criteria and find that field and change it, or I just pop up to my speed bar, change it to 100, and now I got all those new listings. So I love it for that reason. There are going to be some fields that you can't, many fields that you can't use in the speed bar. So for example, if I had added here, the house had to have a basement. So I say here, basement, yes. I think that's one that. Now I have this other criteria that's not part of the speed bar. So this indicates that I have fields that aren't included here. Others, just so you know, that I like to use, like if you wanted a certain number of bedrooms, it knows that if you just type a number here, if I do 4, that's 4 bedrooms exactly. If I do 4 plus, that's 4 or more bedrooms. So I didn't have to put BR or anything like that. It just knows if you type a number, that's bedrooms. Directly after that, if I type another number with or without the plus, that's total bathrooms. So now I ask for houses with 4 bedrooms or more and 2 total bathrooms or more. Quick, easy way. If I say, oh, you know what, that can just be 1 or more, that's fine. Change it there, don't go back to criteria. So speed bar, one of my favorite things. Some shortcuts. AG is looking for agent. So again, AG, if I do Joyce Johnston, that was quick and easy. Or if I want active residential single family in area 202 between a certain price range, we'll go big this time, 700,000 or above. Now I get everything in Westlake that's over 700,000. So watch that, because anytime you run a search, right? So anytime I say, you know, this time I want Cam's Corners, I want single family bungalows that are 200 or less, and I press enter. Anytime you type in there, look at what it did. It put residential, M is for coming soon, A is for active, single family in area 103, 200 or below, bungalow. So pay attention to that as you run searches, because that's going to help you with those shortcuts. Okay. Doing good so far? Speed bar searches saved in recent searches. Yes, they are. So for example, here, if I come back to my recent searches, there's that bungalow. There's that one I just did for the area 103. And thank you for asking that question, because I want to mention that I can save speed bar shortcuts. So this is the one I like to do. If you do any kind of work in, we're going to go down a little rabbit hole here. If you do any work in, say, Tremont or Ohio City, those are really tricky because there's no area here that says the words Tremont or Ohio City. So what I like to do is I like to just start with, I'm just going to put in the price of $1,000. And the only reason I do that is because I don't want a lot of pins on my map. But my goal is to get to the map and show you how you can trace something or outline something and then save that as a speed bar. So a speed bar shortcut. So I want to go to my map and I want to get to downtown Cleveland. So we're going to kind of combine a few things here. I'm at my map, not really seeing any listings, and that's good because I don't want the pins to get in my way. See this little icon here called layers? That little icon lets you turn on things like the city boundaries or zip code boundaries and something called neighborhoods. And neighborhoods are not necessarily, subdivisions, but they're the throwbacks to these old Cleveland city neighborhoods. And then there's going to be more out in different suburbs, but a lot of these are real old. And look here, we've got Ohio City and we've got Tremont. I don't ever want to have to draw the boundary of Ohio City again. So here I see it. And now I just want to trace it so that I can continue to use it. So I'm going to use my polygon tool. And I don't think that top part really matters because there's not any streets there. But I am just tracing with my polygon tool. And it doesn't have to be precise because I can fix that later. All right, so that's not too bad. I got that pretty close. If I needed to tug a corner or something, I just click on those dots and I can pull or push those lines in. But I'm pretty happy with that shape. I'm not really sure what that little square is, so we're going to include it. And now I want to come back. I want to take out that dollar because I'm never going to look for $1,000. But my goal is now I have a map with the Ohio City traced, and I want to save this forever so that I don't have to draw that again and again. So I can go to my results, I click save, and I want to make this so easy for me to pull up anytime that I'm going to save it down here at the bottom as a new speed bar shortcut. So now I say new speed bar shortcut. I have to keep the slash in there because that identifies it. And I'm going to just call this OC, Ohio City. So, and I might even come in here and say, Ohio City map search. So when I see it in a list, I'll know what it is. And I save that. So tomorrow, when I get a customer that calls me and says, hey, Laura, I'm looking in Ohio City. Can you show me what's available? I don't have to say search, put $1,000 in, draw a shape, figure out where all that is. I know that I have a speed bar shortcut that I can type slash OC, because that's what I named it, enter, and there's everything, just to prove it to you, everything in Ohio City, there's the map, and it was that fast. And then if my customer goes, well, I only want to spend between, I want it to be under 200,000. I can come back to my criteria and say 200 or below. And I can even go as far as save that now as a new auto email. I don't touch my speed bar shortcut. That's my template. It remains. And then I can build off of it. So if you have those searches that you run over and over, create them as speed bar shortcuts. The trick is you got to remember what you call them. Another example there I like to give is I had an agent who looked in some high-rise buildings in Lakewood all the time, and she wanted to see what was active today and what sold in the last 30 days. So we built speed bar shortcuts with that address of that high-rise building. And it was like, we looked up, it was Winton Place, let's say. So we did /AW for active Winton, and then we did CW for closed Winton. And every time she needed to see those, she just came up there and went /AW or /CW. And she was right on her way very, very quick. Anytime you need to figure out what in the world did I call that speed bar shortcut, and do I still need it? If you, again, go to your name and settings, and then that is under speed bar shortcuts. That's going to show you everything that you have. And we, the goal is to have short little names so that you can quickly pull those up. I have one for Tremont, one for Solon. So take a minute, maybe make yourself a little cheat sheet until you get them burned in your brain, but those are pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about hot sheets because I love these. We're going to reset that for a second here. Okay, so you all, if you've never done anything else, you all have hot sheets that look like this, where you've got one for residential, one for rentals, and so on. These are simply placeholders. These can be removed. You can build underneath them, but you might not know what residential is. So my advice is get rid of the ones that we gave you and create your own. You get up to 8 hot sheets. A hot sheet lets you follow activity based on criteria that you enter, and it lets you see what's new or different from the last time you viewed that data, or when just this session, the last 24 hours, just today, 3 days back, up to data in the last 3 days or 7 days, or a customized time frame. My advice is use new only. So when you watch markets, and again, you can have up to 8 different hot sheets, many pieces of criteria in those hot sheets. But the idea is you run it today. We're going to run this today at like 2:45. We set it up. We're going to look in Lakewood, what happened today at 2:40 from yesterday till now. And then if I leave it at new only, the system timestamps it. And it says, here's what's new and different since the last time you looked. So if I look at it at 2:45 today, when I look at it again tonight at 8 o'clock, it's only going to show me from 2:45 to 8 o'clock, everything that has happened since I looked at it last. So I really like the hot sheet just to keep an eye on different markets and see what's happening and are things coming in, are they selling? I want to be on top of it. So it does not email you. You do have to come into the system and click these links. And here's how you go about setting up that criteria. Customize. So change it to new only, customize. You could keep these. I'm a fan of getting rid of them because they don't mean anything to me. And I'm never going to have across a rental or a multifamily hot sheet. I deal in residential and that's what I want. So I get rid of all those. And now I'm going to add a hot sheet for myself. So I click add. I pick my property type, so whatever you need, you pick it. And now I want to call this, I'll call it Lakewood. And I'll save that. Now I need to go tell it to look in Lakewood and what I want to see in this hot sheet. So it's highlighted blue. I choose edit criteria. And now I want to see everything. I want to see all the changes that are single family and condo, and I know that area 101 is Lakewood, so I type that. That's really the only criteria I want. I want all of it and everything that happens. So I click save, and I say done. Or I could I could add another one. Maybe I want to do another one in Solon. I save that. Now I click edit. And I don't know what Solon is. It's like 14 something maybe. So now this one's going to be Solon, and I save that. And now I'm done. And I can look at it right now today and it's going to show me the last 24 hours, but then it's going to timestamp it and only show me what's new or different since 2:46 the next time I go in. So here we go with Lakewood. I run it. This is what has happened in Lakewood since yesterday at 2:46 till right now today. It tells me that down here, 10:25 until now. This one came new to the market. These three went under contract. That one had a price reduction. This one went under contract, no showings. This one marked sold, withdrawn, and one entered is coming soon. So now, the next time I look at this, I won't see these again, but I'll see what's new or what else has changed in Lakewood since 2:46 today. That does appear up in my recent searches. So if I had to leave that screen and come back, I can always come back to Lakewood and find those 9. If I try to run it again right now, probably nothing's happened. So it should say 0. And now in my recent searches, I've got that one that was 0. And I've got the one that had 9, and I can pull those back up. All right, so hot sheets, I'm a huge fan of them. I watch what's going on in markets, and it's just a nice way to keep track of that kind of stuff. So check that out when you have a second. I'm going to come back into a recent search that I have. If you've ever wanted to see other data, is there a key to understand what the letters stand for? There is not. For the hot sheets, if you're talking about these, it's actually the status that's written on the listing. If you weren't sure, you could open that listing and see that it says, under contract, no showings. They're fairly straightforward as far as active, under contract, allow, under contract, no showings, sold, withdrawn, with release. That's the WR. WNR is withdrawn, no release. But they do match the status. If you actually pull that up, you'll see it spelled out. So if you've ever been looking at a grid and said, oh shoot, I wish I saw price per square foot, that would be really helpful. You have the ability to add any field that you want to add that you have the ability to see on a listing. So if I wanted to add price per square foot or subdivision or HOA, yes or no, or what that HOA is. If I click anywhere on these gray headers, and the trick is don't click on the word, click on it when you have the 4-headed arrow, because if you click the word, it sorts it by that column. But for example, I like address just because it's a really big wide field, and I can click there and say insert a column. And the field that I want is price per square foot. So, sorry, a little fast there, Laura. If I type SQ, I can look for the field price per square foot. There it is. I can scroll down and see, are there others? But no, that's the one I want, price per square foot. And if I apply that, it's going to insert a column and give me price per square foot. So now I don't like that big long header. So I can click again, the 4-headed arrow, and then erase those words and do maybe dollar per square foot and apply it. And I really want to make that a little narrower. So anytime you hover over that white line, it's hard to see, but there's those white lines between columns. I can shrink that up a little bit. And what I really don't like is it's way over here in left field, or right field. I can click and drag and move that over and put it wherever I want it. So you have the ability to add pretty much any field on your one-line grid. I've built this under residential, so it's going to stay as a residential report. I'd have to make it in multifamily if I want it there. So play with that. But one of the best parts I like is, I like that field, price per square foot, and I like the order that I have these in. And if I click on that pencil and paper right there at the top, I can give it a name. And now, if I save that as a copy, Anytime I want that grid, I can click my drop down and there it is, dollar per square foot. So we've made some others, HOA, maybe we've got agent and office name, does it have a basement? So if you've ever had to look through listings and you just got tired of that, and you want to have that in a grid, build it. Again, I like clicking an address, insert a column, find whatever column you want. Maybe this one you want that basement or HOA. I like HOA yes or no, or maybe even HOA fee. That's a helpful one, because that's going to tell you how much it is. So that assume that's a yes. And then again, click the pencil and paper, give it a name, or just save it. And you now have that under the display, my, and then whatever else you named it. So check that out. That can become very, very helpful. Anytime you want to manage those, we're back to your name and settings, your name and then settings, and you've got custom displays right here. And you can come in here, and if you want to delete any, you can. If you want to kind of tweak it while it's in here and move stuff around instead of from the grid itself, you can choose that and choose edit. And my computer decided to take a little break. And here's that grid, and I can add or remove fields if it's easier to do it here. And then don't forget to save it. Okay, so if you have a listing, and this is the last thing I want to cover today, so we're almost done. If you have a listing, or I should say when you have a listing, we always recommend that you double check the map pin placement. And I will urge you to especially check them on vacant land or new construction that maybe the road isn't there yet, or the road is there, but the lots haven't been identified. You really need to look at that map, make sure that the property is in the right place. And if it isn't, move your pin. We get way too many people entering vacant land, especially, but it could be new construction or new streets where the street isn't identified. And then the pin is just floating out there in the middle of the road. And some of those roads are fairly long. So it tries to put it where it can, where it thinks it should go. And if it doesn't know where it should go, it puts it in the middle of that road. Like it finds the midpoint of that road. So as an agent, regardless of whether you have listing input capabilities or not, you have the ability to change the map pin, as well as like add photos and supplements and open houses. But I think this one's really important. So if you go to the input tab, and this is the same process you would do if you were adding a map pin, I'm sorry, if you were adding photos. So I'm going to pull up my listing on 1010 Main Street. And you will all have this mapping geocode short form. So whether you have listing input or not, you will have tours, mapping geocode short form, photos, supplements, and manage showing time. Manage geocode short form lets you first, the person who put it in for you would have done this, but you could do it again. Get the latitude and longitude from the address. So when you click that, it goes out, looks at the address, and it goes, okay, well, that's where we think the house is supposed to go. You as the agent should come back in and double check and make sure that that's in the right place. So step 2 here is set lat longe. And with that, it's a little bit closer zoomed in view with parcels. And if you click on the parcel, it's going to tell you whose property that is. And my computer's just starting to get a little tired here. I should have ended with the one before this. Because now I'm frozen. Oh dear. Well, let me talk through it. Can somebody just say, can you still see my screen? Is it just that it's frozen, or did I lose my internet altogether? Anybody out there? Okay, good, thank you. All right. So and typically what happens is if I click on one of these parcels, it's going to tell me that is 1010 Main Street and it belongs to this person, and it gives a little bit of information. So what's really cool is I should be able to go, okay, yep, that's not the right parcel. If I click along here, there we go. Oh, come on. If I click along, it would keep telling me the parcel and the name, and I can say, okay, that's the right one, and I can pick that pin up and move it. Oh, I can't believe I can't show you that. Pick that pin up and move it. So you as the agent have the ability to move this around and put it in the right place so that anytime somebody does a driving directions or plots those on a property, or a consumer does it, you can move that around. Oh, ta-da, there it is. So that's what you would see. And if that's where it's supposed to go, you just pick it up and drag it. So you might have to zoom out pretty far, especially down in the more rural areas. You know, you might have to say, well, it's over here. And then you zoom in and you start clicking around. So when you're done, you say done. I'm just going to choose cancel here. But take a minute and fix that. And finally, choose the Google Street View. And I love this. You have the ability to, when you view the Google Street View, this is a perfect example of a terrible listing, Google Street View. I'm looking down a road. I don't see anything. So now I know that the house is over this way. I can pick this map up and spin it. But I don't know if that's any better of a view because I'm getting a bunch of construction vehicles. So now I really want to be over here. So you can see my mouse turns into this circle with an arrow. I can come over here and click. And now I can spin. And that's the house. So then I could even zoom in and tilt and turn and get that exactly how I want it. And when I'm done, I say, okay. And then moving forward, this will be the Google Street View on the listing itself. So take a minute, get your latitude and longitude, and then go a step further and double check it and set your Google Street View. And then submit that, and moving forward, anybody that sees your listing will see that new location. Okay. I covered a lot of ground today in just under an hour. Everything that we did has a tip sheet under your name, help, and yes, MLS tip sheets. It's all here. So take a minute, look through those. There's even more there than just what we covered. This was recorded. So I will go ahead, and once it's finished, it'll probably be midweek that this will get posted under Yes MLS webinar videos. And that's where we store all of the ones that we've presented. And you can simply go to one of those and see, who did it and what date was it, and watch the one you like. And I'd say watch a couple, because you know what, we all do it a little bit differently. So thank you for the kind remarks. I'm glad that was some good information for you. On my final note, for those who left aren't going to hear this one, but you can right click on any of these menu items. And if you want a second session, right? So I've been working in here, maybe I was looking at this recent search, and I go, oh shoot, somebody called and they asked me a question on another listing. If I right click and say open link in new tab, I just opened myself another session. So now here's my search result, but now I have to go run and look for another listing. So right click, open link in new tab, and you can have many, many sessions opened at once. Don't go crazy, because you'll lose your mind figuring out what you're doing where. All right, any final questions? I will hang out here for just a few minutes, and if you have anything else, go ahead and post them in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Have a great afternoon, and I appreciate you sticking with me for the full hour. I'm going to stop sharing here. Well, I won't do that. I will just sit tight for a few minutes. And if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, you guys are all very nice. I appreciate the nice remarks, and you are all very welcome.